Okay, this is Advanced Path Warlock. This is the final Advanced Path that is in the rulebook. Requirement is Talus Mongering, which is an avatar-based meta magic. You'll find it under the meta magic section. It is avatar-based, so you have to be an avatar to be a warlock. I believe it's avatar. I really hope it's avatar. We're gonna find out. Yeah, 3 avatar. Yeah, it's avatar. Okay. Death, decay, death, undeath, decay, luck, destruction. Some would call it corruption. The warlock knows better. In short, chaos is power. Those who would walk this path are rarely concerned with the trivialities of everyday life and center themselves on ceremony. Those who cling too close to nature could never understand just how much good can come from manipulating chaos. You can manipulate chance, subvert misfortune, and even put a stopper in death for a price. So warlocks are, what they sound like. They're dudes that so the stereotype of warlock, or the understood archetype of a good warlock, is somebody who uses chaos magic for the purposes of good. So think Dungeons and Dragons warlock, where they have made a pact with something, and in Dungeons and Dragons, they typically make a pact with a elder god of some kind that gives them power, and then they go and they serve that god. There are no gods within the world of ShiftedLands. So there's a sort of pseudo equivalent, which is that you serve a type of aspect. So that's typically nature or chaos or the mist, or you can serve these planes or these powers. And so in short, chaos is the one that warlocks are serving. And don't get me wrong, there are bad warlocks. Okay, you don't have to be a good guy to play a warlock. Okay, there are definitely bad warlocks who, quote unquote, bad guy warlocks who are chaos users who are bad guys. Okay, like it's not a you have to be a good guy path, but you can be a good guy. Okay, there's nothing that says you can't be a warlock and be a good guy. Um, if I find out that you're a warlock, I'm gonna be a little suspicious. Okay, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I'm not gonna trust you, but that's just me. Other people might. Okay, so there's nothing that says you can't play warlock. And I'm pretty sure there are warlocks in town. There's nothing like people play warlocks, and I would play a warlock. Warlocks are sick. Okay, they're sweet. Warlock can cast certain spells. We'll get right into the skills. Dark Pact. Warlock can cast certain spells cheaper to the detriment of other spells. The casting cost of the Inflict Death spell is reduced by 2. I believe it's a 10 cost spell, so this immediately brings it to 8. And there's ways to get it cheaper, and all curse spells are reduced by 1. There's a couple different curse spells, like Curse with Decay, Curse with Whimsy? Is that a ritual? Curse with Decay, Curse of Doom, I think is another one. There's other curse. There's things that say curse and are spells. Those get reduced by 1. Inflict Death being reduced by 2 is hot. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. If you wanted to play a dark magic user and just throw death at people, this is the pathway. Like, this is the pathway that you play. I want to do inflict deaths for very cheap, and I want to throw deaths at people in combat. That's what I want to do. Which is a totally valid way of doing combat. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a real good way of doing combat. So, uh, yeah. Upon learning this ability, Warlock may no longer cast, activate items, or otherwise produce a Great Life or Dispel Curse effect. Okay, so this doesn't say that you can't use the healing spells, but you can't produce a Grant Life in any form. Okay, so where we just covered Shaman, which was also a avatar path that specifically did unnatural Grant Lives. This is like the total opposite. Like, you literally can't produce a Grant Life. You are so far on the where Shaman was like healing people, and there wasn't really many offensive things that Shaman was doing. Where they were group healing, they were healing people in an AoE, and they were producing lives, and they were saving people's lives and stuff. Warlock is the opposite side of the coin. They are giving death to people. They are granting death. They are inflicting death. They're swinging for death. I think at some point, maybe. They're doing stuff. They're doing the complete opposite with Avatar, because Avatar is a coin flip. It's like one side is nature, one side is chaos, and there's neutral in between. These guys are definitely on the chaos side of the spectrum. And so yeah, you can't produce a great life or a dispel curse effect. Like that's not possible. Uh, keep in mind, dispel curse effect. You cannot create that. Like that's going to be very relevant. You cannot get rid of a curse yourself. Okay, in as far as the rules so far that we've read. Okay, so you got to understand that because it's going to be very relevant later for this pathway. Okay. Warlock ceremonial dagger. Warlock turns a dagger into a special talisman. Upon learning the skill, the Warlock may turn an existing dagger into a ceremonial dagger. To do so, the Warlock begins turning the dagger into a talisman, subject to which is why you need to know talismongering. Talismongering allows you to create talismans, and talismans are just a meta magic that lets you do something neat with an item. Okay, and that's all you need to know. We'll cover it eventually. Subject to normal rules except the talisman, may only contain chaos sphere and curse spells and must be solely created by the warlock. Okay, so you can't have anybody help you make a talisman for this specific ceremonial dagger, and you can't do anything that isn't a chaos sphere or curse spell. Uh, it may only be chaos spells and curse spells, or chaos sphere and curse spell stuff. Upon completion, the talisman functions like a normal talisman. Okay, keep that in mind. It's a normal talisman that can only contain chaos and curse spells. But the warlock may now spell strike spells from the talisman through the dagger, expending the stored spell. So that's super neat. The warlock may have one ceremonial dagger at a time. So you get a spell strike through a dagger. Okay, you got to keep that in mind. You get to spell strike through a dagger. Whew, excuse me. Which is really good. Okay, you're doing it through a weapon. You're not doing it through claws. You're doing it through a weapon, which is sweet. The warlock may only have one ceremonial dagger at a time. Making a new ceremonial dagger reverts the old one into a regular talisman. So if you spent time making a talisman and then you're like, oh, well, I want a different ceremonial dagger, you still have the talisman that you made. Only the warlock can make use of the ceremonial dagger's special properties. Okay, cool. It's a cool skill. Talismans are neat. You'll learn about talismans. It's very it's very useful to have certain talismans, and only warlocks can use these. Only the warlock that made it, I would assume, yeah, only the warlock can make use of their specific ceremonial dagger. So I don't think if you had two warlocks that they could use each other's ceremonial daggers. I don't think that's how that works. Reversal of Fortune. This is a sweet skill, alright? 10 build, costs 3 avatar. Let's see what it does. You may take an existing spell curse upon yourself and reverse your fortune for 3 avatar. This call is Reverse Fortune. All of the effects may be reversed as many times as you pay the per use cost, but none of the benefits stack with themselves, i.e. you can't continue to stack strength by reversing multiple weakness effects in a row, blah blah blah. So, okay, keep in mind, none of these stack, so you only get one at a time. Excuse me, you only get one of each at a time, potentially, and you cannot re-reverse a spell's fortune. Dispel Curse still removes these effects, they are all combat duration, they may not be quickened. Okay, keep in mind, you cannot produce a Dispel Curse effect. Remember that was in our Dark Pact? You cannot otherwise produce a Dispel Curse effect. So there's no way for you to get rid of these effectively. They are all combat duration and may not be quickened. So they last for combat and there's not an off button until combat ends, okay? You got to keep that in mind. And they may not be quickened. Decay. So if you get cursed with decay, is the spell. So if you get cursed with decay, the next effect, and you call Reverse of Fortune for 3 avatar. So if you have a curse of decay sitting on you, and you call Reverse of Fortune for 3 avatar, then instead of having a curse of decay, you now have this effect which is sitting on you until combat duration ends. The next effect that would heal you heals you double. Sweet. Okay. Curse of Fragility. You become immune to normal weapons for combat duration. So that means 10 damage, 10 damage, 10 damage, slay. But as soon as they add magic, 10 magic, 10 magic, magic slay, you're not immune to that, okay? So you're getting If you've seen the Elder Racial Dragon, immune to normal, or I think it's Elder Flesh Golem, immune to normal, you're getting that, but at the cost of using a spell on you, and then because like the intent here is that you're cursing yourself because you do curses for cheaper, right? So you curse yourself, and then you pay 3 avatar to reverse the curse. All right, like that's the effect that you're using. So keep in mind that there's per use costs associated with inflicting all of these on yourself. So doing all of these at once would be pretty expensive. Doom. Once in this combat, a weapon blow that strikes you has no effect. Smart protective. This is really good. Doom is the most expensive one, and Inflict Curse of Doom, I think, is what it is. Uh, or Grant Curse of Doom. I think it's Inflict Curse of Doom though. Once in this combat, a weapon bow that strikes you has no effect. Smart protective. I assume that this is similar to racial augment. Forgot the name. Ascetic. Uh, Racial augments ascetic spirit watcher, where you get to no effect a thing. This is similar to that, where you get to no effect thing, except that it has to be a weapon blow. It has to be a weapon blow that strikes you, so you don't get a no effect on a spell. If you inflict weakness on yourself, you can reverse the fortune to give you strength. Makes sense. Uh, we'll skip misspeaking real quick. Whimsy. You may reverse this to completely sober yourself, removing all intoxication effects. Okay, that's neat. Inflict Curse of Whimsy is like you inflict like somebody being drunk. Like you gotta just make somebody drunk. So when you do that and you reverse it, you become completely sober. And you can have stacking intoxication effects. Like there can be like you can have like up to like 10 or more intoxication effects on you, and that would be pretty tough to get rid of. So you can remove all intoxication effects on yourself with a Curse of Whimsy reversal, which is neat. Okay, Curse of Misspeaking essentially makes it hard to speak, and that they can't. I think the point of it is that they can't form a coherent sentence to cast a spell. So like instead of with Eldritch Force I grant whatever, or with Eldritch Force I summon Fireball, it would be like with Force Eldritch I summon Ball Fire. Like they couldn't do it. Right, like that's the purpose of the curse. Inflict Curse of Misspeaking, I believe. So when you reverse it, what happens? Okay, may reverse this effect to attempt to deliver a minor prophecy usable once per logistics. Okay, that's pretty neat. Okay, there's like you can attempt to deliver a minor prophecy, which is sweet. You may attempt so like the reverse of not being able to speak is that you get to speak like the truth. Like you get to deliver a prophecy, which is freaking cool. You may attempt to narrow in the subject matter through concentration, but there is no guarantee whatsoever that the prophecy will concern what you wish it to or that it will make sense. So, when you use this skill, you have to understand that you're just putting it on plot to come up with a prophecy, because you don't get to make up the prophecy yourself. The like plot does it. So you got to understand that when you do this, you have a plot marshal sitting right beside you, and it's also a prophecy, and people don't understand the meanings of prophecies until they come true. So there's no promise that it's like really good, but it's just neat roleplay is essentially what it comes down to. When plot has decided the words of the prophecy, your character will stiffen up and deliver them. Be warned, it may not be at a time that is convenient for your character. So when you do this, you go and you tell a plot marshal like, "Hey, I'm trying to cause a prophecy, a minor prophecy about like X, Y, and Z, potentially about X, Y, and Z, like you're concentrating on it." Uh, and then plot goes like, "Cool, we'll get back to you on that." And then maybe later in the event they come to you and they're like, "This is your prophecy, blah blah blah. You stiffen up like right now." And that could be at the worst possible time. It could be you could be running away from a monster, and they're like, "You decide to deliver a prophecy." Like that would, well, you don't decide. You do deliver a prophecy, which is funny. This is super cool. Okay, misspeaking and whimsy aside, these are all really good effects. Okay, depends on how cheap you can get these to cast. I don't know the particular. I know Doom is like 10. I know Doom is like the most expensive one here, I think. But like giving yourself +4 strength for potentially, 3 avatar and something less is like pretty neat, pretty useful. A fragility immune to normal for duration if they're swinging normal at you, that's pretty good. Uh, Next effect heals you double. I'm sure Decay is probably the cheapest one. Decay or Weakness has to be the cheapest one, in my opinion. And you're doing all of these at a -1 because they're curse effects, which is neat. And you probably have a Chaos Sphere concentration, and you're probably casting Chaos stuff at reduced effects or at reduced cost. So yeah, really good skill, honestly. Enervate. Warlock may throw raw chaos. Enervate gives the Warlock the ability to throw raw chaos. As needed, the Warlock may choose to throw attacks such as 25 with a packet, 25 chaos, which costs one body and one avatar per 25 points of chaos. So just how Elder Dragon can spend 1 and 1 of wizardry and adept to throw 50 of their elements, or a base dragon can pay 1 and 1 to throw 25 of an element. That's more equivalent here. uh they get to pay one avatar, which is their pathway, and then one body to throw 25 chaos. It is as possible to throw as many variations as you wish, as many times as you can pay the per use cost, which means that unlike Elementalist, which is stuck at 25 of an element, you get to stack this as much as you want. So if you want to pay 4 avatar and 4 body every time you throw it, you can throw 100 chaos at people with a packet. Please note that this ability costs body points. You may not use this ability to heal yourself. So, for example, I believe mycelials are healed by chaos. So you can't spend one body and one avatar to heal yourself for 25 points of chaos, because the cost to activate the skill is one body. Hence, that you cannot be healed by it is essentially what this skill says. Uh, you cannot use this ability to heal yourself. So anything that would be healed by chaos doesn't let you get healed by chaos, which is unfortunate, but it also makes sense. It would be kind of busted to be able to heal yourself all the time to full if you had this ability. And throwing chaos is really good. Okay, like it doesn't need to be that much better. Chaos ignores armor. That's chaos is a subtype that ignores armor. So if you throw 100 chaos at somebody, it goes through their armor and then it hits their body. And as previously stated in some other videos, like most people are walking around with sub 100, sub 200 body. So like there's not a whole lot that can just eat those for days. Like they'll have to use defenses or dodge out of the way of those things. Which like if you paid 4 avatar and 4 body to make somebody dodge, that's pretty good. Like honestly, that's really good. So uh keep in mind this is a very good skill, okay? Sacrificial Restoration. 2 avatar. Warlock may killing blow a target, restoring a spell to their dagger. When using this skill, allows the Warlock to bleed out a living victim using their ceremonial dagger. This effect requires a 3-count killing blow on an unconscious or bleeding victim. Upon completing the count, the victim is struck with a killing blow body, restore something something like grant death, or restore inflict death. So killing blow body, restore inflict death. And that spell from the Knife's Talisman is restored. The victim counts as if they have been blood healed from. Blood healing is a racial skill that's on ghouls. Go read ghoul, but it basically means it's harder to heal you after you've been blood healed from. And you can pay. So let's say your grant death, which costs 10. I know it doesn't actually cost 10 for you because you get like a reduction you get a cost of 2 reduction, but let's just effectively say that you don't have any reductions. Your 10 costed grant life, okay? It costs you 10 pool to do a grant life from your ceremonial dagger, and now you get to killing blow and get back your grant life, or your inflict death. Sorry, I don't know if I was just saying it inflict grant life, but what I meant was inflict death, and this lets you get back your inflict death. So you're saving, and it's 2 avatar to get back whatever you restored, so that's neat. The math works out if you do it for. I mean, I don't imagine that you're. The point of this whole pathway is that you get to do inflict deaths for 1. I think is honestly the point. You get to do it for like 1 or 2. So at that point, paying 2 avatar to get back something that costs you 2 avatar or 2 spirit to do is kind of bad, in my opinion. But if it's a lot harder than it looks to get to that, and you're gonna spend a lot of time before you're doing grant deaths for one, so it'll be relevant. It's okay. And also, this gets you things that aren't inflict deaths. This gets you things that aren't inflict deaths. So maybe you do other things for less or for more, and then it would be relevant. So pretty good. It also just Fs over the person that you healed from. It makes them have to have a blood healed effect on them, which sucks. So pretty good. It's also very warlocky. Okay, it's very warlocky. Makes sense for a warlock to have something like that. Invoke the aspects. Special cost. Warlock must invoke an aspect of chaos at logistics. Okay. At logistics, you must invoke the blessings of one of the known aspects of chaos. This effect persists through the rest of the event. This must be clearly marked on your character sheet. If you forget to mark this power on your character sheet and thus forget to invoke, please inform plot. Um, I don't imagine what will happen to you, but it's probably not good. So you could, and these aren't in the rulebook anywhere per se. So this is just like lore. But if you invoke death, you're immune to death effects. You swing for death with ceremonial dagger for one avatar per swing, which is hot. You get a swing death, and you're immune to death, which is hot. Undeath, immune to charm spells, healed by chaos, harmed by nature. So that's probably why on an Enervary it says you can't heal yourself, is because you would totally just I would totally invoke undeath every single time and just be able to heal myself for a frick ton. Um, Chance may resist 3 wild surges or immune to charm spells is immune to charm spells is relevant. It's pretty relevant. There's some really good stuff in charm now. Harmed by nature sucks, but there's not a whole lot of stuff that's swinging directly nature at you. May resist 3 wild surges or backfire effects while participating in ritual. They may choose to be targeted by the surge and the backfire effects as if they were the lead caster. Add an extra white or black stone to the bag when this is an extra sentence. We're going to cover that in a second. You get to resist 3 wild surges or backfires while you're participating in. So most people, when they're casting rituals and they backfire or wild surge, they have to use and expend resources to deal with that or take a crazy effect, which is not good. You just get a resist to those. So for the first 3 wild surges or backfires, you just don't spend any resources and you get to just resist them. If you're the lead caster, I think, or if you get targeted by it. So if you're the only one casting, as if they were the lead caster. Okay, yeah, cool. So that's just really good, honestly, really good. So then also add an extra white or black stone to the bag when resurrecting yourself or others. We're gonna ignore add black stone. We're gonna add an extra white stone to the bag when resurrecting others or yourself. That's super neat. I don't know why you can add a black stone to the bag, but that sounds pretty bad. That sounds pretty sketchy. Um, so maybe don't ever let a warlock resurrect you. That would suck. Wow, that's actually kind of silly. That's so sketch. I'm never trusting a warlock. I'm sorry, guys. If you're playing a warlock, I'm not trusting you. Hatred, immune to peace and calm effects, plus 10 damage versus living with ceremonial dagger. Uh, that's pretty good. Honestly, just having it flat, ignore this. Plus 10 damage versus living things. There's a lot of things that count as living, and you're just getting a flat plus 10 with your dagger. Pretty cool. Like, pretty good. Immune to hate and peace, calm effects, blah, blah, blah. Destruction. Ritual strike wrath 2 times with ceremonial dagger per logistics. Hot. Okay, this is very good. Pretty sweet. A nerviate ratio becomes 50 instead of 25. That's insane. Where was it? Invoke aspects. That's actually dirt nasty good. Pestilence, immune to disease, swing disease suppressible with ceremonial dagger. So you're not paying a per use cost like how you were swinging for death for 1 avatar per swing. You're swinging suppressible disease all the time. Okay. If I was playing a warlock, not saying that I would, but I'm pretty sure I personally pick destruction every time. That's just me though. There are very good reasons why you would pick these other ones. My personal opinion, and what I would pick almost every single time, unless I like knew I was going to be like. And the thing is you get to change this every logistics. Every event you show up to, it can be different. So if you know, like, hey, this event, my game plan was to cast a bunch of rituals, I'm probably going to pick chance. Or if last event you were fighting a bunch of chaosy guys and they were doing a bunch of death at you, and you know that you guys didn't defeat the bad guy, and that the bad guy's going to show up at the next event. So maybe you show up to the next event and you go, hey, I'm going to be immune to death. Like, that's going to be pretty relevant this event, right? And there are things that communicate to your character outside of events, um, which can give you information as to like maybe what you pick. I personally pick destruction every time, dude. Like I want to ritual strike wrath things. That sounds cool. And then a nerve ratio becoming 50 instead of 25 is actually nuts. You're paying one avatar. Yeah, like one body, kind of irrelevant. You're technically realistically you're paying one avatar to do 50 chaos at something, which is insane. Okay, like that's amazing. Um, and on top of that, you just like that's actually the reason why you pick this. And then you get for like cheesy points, you get to ritual strike wrath 2 times, which is just dumb. Super cool. All right, really good. Very good skill. Honestly, this is not in my top 10 skills in the game list that I'm theoretically making as I learn all these, but this is in the top 20. Guaranteed this is in the top 20. This is amazing. Also, same thing with Reversal of Fortune, by the way. I'm pretty sure this is also in the top 20, but it's not quite top 10. For me personally, I'm personally, as I'm going through all these, like, skills, I'm kind of, like, I'm kind of building a understanding of what I think, in my opinion, is, like, the best stuff in the game. And, like, these are, like, pretty close to being up there, honestly. This and this, they're not super amazing, but they're definitely in the top 20 for me personally. But that's just hearsay for me. I don't play casters. Also, I don't play casters. Keep that in mind. So I could be totally off base on what's actually good. Warlock gets a totem. Okay. You get to, just like all the other totems. I'm not gonna cover the thing anymore. Go watch Chronomancer if you want to see an understanding of like what the totem actually does. On top of what the rituals they get, but they also get rituals. They get Avatar Disenchant, Lucky Ritual, Frailty, Bleeding Heart. I know what Bleeding Heart does. It's pretty good. I don't know what the other three things do. They sound cool. Avatar Disenchant sounds fucking terrifying, to be completely honest to you. But I don't care about any of these. I know what Bleeding Heart does, and that's really good. Okay, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. This is really good. So this is definitely a really good totem, in my opinion, just because Bleeding Heart's in there. Um, I don't know what these other three things do. I imagine they're really good. Avatar Disenchant sounds spooky. Lucky Ritual sounds really cool. And Frailty sounds really cool. I'd love to throw Frailty at somebody. I don't know what that does, but if I could throw it at somebody, that sounds sick. Uh, Yeah, so really good totem. Really good totem. And then, their cookie. As fate would have it, may Spell Strike inflict death and curse spells that you got reductions for earlier through the ceremonial dagger, and it will expend the appropriate points from his pool when doing so. Upkeeps on ceremonial dagger are reduced as if crafted with a bead of quicksilver by a master jeweler. That's super cool. So talismans require upkeeps, and your dagger is technically still a regular talisman with some upside. So keep in mind, you have to pay a little bit of it's not probably a whole lot. It's like at max, like you're paying like it's most likely going to be 1 or 2, but at max it could be like 10 avatar. So getting to half all of that is like pretty cool. Well, sorry, I don't know if it's halved, but you get to reduce it, which is neat. I think it's like halved. I think that's honestly what Bead of Quicksilver does, but I could be wrong. Pretty cool. You get a spell strike you get a spell strike the two most relevant things that you want to be doing and casting as a spellcaster here through your dagger. amazing. Okay, super sweet. Uh, so me personally, after actually reading Warlock, I read Warlock the other day, and I was like, this is amazing. I can't wait to end the series on this one. I want to play a Warlock. Completely honest with you, I want to play a Warlock. I personally thought that I wanted to. I know that my next character, I want to play an Elder Human and do Avatar stuff, but I don't know what I wanted. I'm pretty much thinking about playing an Elder Human Medium, Elder Human Shaman, or an Elder Human Warlock, and I'm trying to decide between those. And like Warlock is pretty cool, and I don't think there's too many Warlocks, so that'd be sweet. Uh, but Medium is also super sweet too. Like really good, sweet. I like Medium a lot. But Warlock, dude, like throwing 50 chaos at people, this is so good. And like I think the craft totem, just Bleeding Heart being in here is like very convincing for me to be able, like, I could be throwing Bleeding Hearts at people. Um, Super cool. And then like throw in, oh, it's so good. Uh, yeah. And the thing is that you can't grant life people, but there's also nothing that says that you're worse at casting the healing spells that do like cure wounds. Like there's nothing in here that says that your cure wounds are worse, right? So you could. There's nothing in here that says that you can't be also casting cure wounds on people. It's just that you're very good at casting the chaos stuff, so that's cool. Um, but I wouldn't ever be able to grant life somebody, which is a problem. Activate items. I don't know if this counts towards not being able to shove a oil of grant life into somebody's head or into somebody's throat to pick them up. Like there's oils and medicine man herbs. Otherwise produce a grant life effect. Honestly, that's pretty harsh wording. I don't think you could do it with like anything. So yeah, there's probably a very good reason and like why you can't get around that. Um so that kind of sucks that like yeah, I can heal people but I can't pick them up. Which that's like the point. That's the trade-off is that like you can't grant life people but man, you can do a lot of cool chaos stuff like oh, this is pretty sweet. The downside is that dagger at its max length, let's see. I mean it's the last video. I don't care. I'm going to go off the page. The max length for a dagger, like compare this for like all the other things. The max length for a dagger, so we're looking at B stat under dagger. B stat dagger 6 to 12. So the overall length of a dagger is only going to be a foot. Is 12 inches, okay? So you got to understand that in terms of combat, it's tough to be actually using a regular dagger. I know plenty of people who do. Okay, like it doesn't immediately make it. Oh, that's the thrown dagger. That's a throwing dagger. 26. Ah, yes. So this is so at a minimum it has to be a foot. At a maximum, 24 is 2 feet. So it can be a little bit over 2 feet. Max length dagger is still super usable at 2 feet in terms of combat. You're not reaching over and hitting somebody's back like you are with like a long sword or a two-handed sword, but like or I typically use a bunch of short swords personally. But like dagger, pretty good. My Igor carries around a dagger with him for a reason, and and he has a max length dagger, and he uses that pretty effectively. Like there's not a too big of a downside to using dagger in combat. So being able to, but the thing is that you have to be spell striking through that dagger length, which is neat that you're getting to do that, but it can also be tough because there's a lot of times where you like swing and they just step back and you completely miss them. And with a dagger, you're playing with basically the minimum size length, so your reach in combat, it comes down to like actual body mechanics and like not mechanics in game, but like how you actually fight, which is like a whole different discussion. But I'm pretty sure that it's pretty viable to be using an actual dagger. So we ended up on another page, but and we'll probably actually be going to this page in the next video cover because we're going to be covering stuff like this. This might be what we cover, but yeah, that was Warlock. Warlock is super sweet. I would play a Warlock. Like I'm seriously consider playing a Warlock. And it's totally a cool path. There's tons of roleplay. delivering minor prophecies, super sick, super cool, honestly. And it's an avatar pathway, which I'm very interested in personally, in playing an avatar. So super cool. That was Warlock. That was the last uh, advanced path, and it was also the last racial augment, or advanced path like coverage. So this was the last my opinion focused type of covering of a video. So now we get to go into like the purposes of certain meta magics, and like we might be covering how armor works and how weapon swings work. So that's what's all going to be in the next couple of videos, I would imagine, and they're all probably going to be scripted, to be honest with you. So this is potentially one of the last times you're going to hear me talking like this, like casually. So thank you guys for watching. It's been really awesome to go through all of the like sort of classes, quote unquote, that you can play in the game. So that's super awesome. Thank you for your time, and catch you on the next time.